Hello everyone, welcome to the Wine Down. You're probably wondering, where's the wine? This is the Wine Down. And yeah, you're right to wonder that because there is no wine here. We actually have a special episode today. We will be drinking something, but can you fill us in on who our special guest is today and what we'll be drinking?
So we're doing something different. We're going to be having espresso martinis instead of wine today, or your frosé.
My concoction of non-alcoholic beverages that
She'll be having a non-alcoholic version of the espresso martini. So on the business of this week, we had April Wachtel, who owns Cheeky Cocktails, and they are pre-made simple syrups that help you make at-home cocktails. So she is here to show us how to make an espresso martini at home using their Cheeky Cocktail espresso syrup. And then we get to drink them.
I'm so excited. This is going to be my first mocktail, so hey.
Let's do it.
Great. So I'm so excited to be with you today to show you how to make an espresso martini with Cheeky espresso syrup. We're actually doing two different versions today. So the first one I'm making for Kim, she is pregnant, but a lot of people want a non-alc option anyway. So the first espresso martini I'll be making is with a non-alc distilled spirit called Seedlip. So this is their Spice 94. It's an aromatic distilled spirit. Very exciting. So in this, you might notice that I have two different martini glasses over here. These are a bit larger than the recipe that I had made this for, so I'm actually going to double the recipe. So the recipe itself is 2 ounces of either your non-alc distilled spirit or your foolproof distilled spirit, and then 1 ounce of the espresso syrup. So in this case, I'm actually going to do, we're going to do 4 ounces of this. And then I'll just do the 2 of the espresso syrup. So the reason that I had created this espresso syrup in the first place was because obviously espresso martinis are all the rage right now, but they are also actually kind of a pain to make. So normally you have to have 3 to 5 ingredients depending on what you put in them, and getting that sort of fluffy, foamy crema on the surface of the cocktail every single time is really difficult if you are not pulling fresh espresso. And so that was the evolution of the recipe, was how do we get that quality to come through, super high, premium ingredients, very high quality coffee source, and also get that fluffy foamy crema on the surface. So what we ended up landing with was a very high quality cold brew concentrate sourced from Cafe Integral in Brooklyn, New York. They source these single origin beans from Nicaragua. And then adding cane sugar and then some gum arabic as well. And that is for texture, that's for that emulsification. So the cocktail, as I mentioned, is fully made in here. You'll notice I actually added less ice than you normally would. So when you're making shaken cocktails, typically you fill all the way to the rim of the shaker tin. In this particular case, I actually basically half filled it. Give me 1 second. And I half filled it so it fluffs, again, the foamy crema, but it does not over dilute the cocktail, which if you are somebody who likes Ramos gin fizzes, or if you like just cocktails with egg white in general, you'll notice that the really foamy, frothy surface is really, truly what you're looking for. And as you can see, this it is reflected here as well. Cool. So I'll do that, and then it is essential to an espresso martini to have an uneven number of beans as the garnish. So this is the first one, just put it to the side. And then I'm just gonna replicate that with my foolproof spirit here as well. So I'm going to use Kettle One vodka. This is a Dutch vodka. I'm gonna do this here. Again, we're gonna do the same ratios. So it's like a very beautiful thing that it translates. And you'll notice, so I've been a cocktail instructor for like a zillion years. And you'll notice that I'm making the cocktail in the smaller of the 2 shakers each time. And that's just like a best practice, just to ensure consistency. And also if you're making multiple cocktails in the shaker at a given time, if you build it in the big one and then you add ice, you can very likely have an overflow problem, which we do not want. over here at ROI TV. So again, repeating the exact same process here, adding a few cubes. We do this. It's also important, just for anyone interested in learning about cocktails and cocktail making, it's very important too that when you seal your shaker, the small shaker is in the large shaker at an angle, and this is to get the best, so the most optimal seal. And then in this case, you'll notice I'm kind of gingerly like shaking up and away, and that's because I know with this cocktail, since I've already shaken in this shaker, there might be some residual liquid, which I definitely do not want on my body, on my person, while I'm doing this. So, cool. All right, and numero dos here. And the other very, very cool thing about our espresso syrup is that it's a great, it adds a lot of texture and body to stirred cocktails as well. So with shaken cocktails, again, you're always going to get this lovely foam on the surface, but with stirred cocktails where you're not agitating it aggressively like I have been, it just adds viscosity and again, some body to that final cocktail. Gets that really beautiful clear mountain stream quality in a stirred cocktail, which is, I think, something that stirred cocktail fans really enjoy. So again, we've got the 2 espresso martinis, this one full proof and this one non-alc, and hope they are enjoyed.
Okay, now the fun part, we get to try them.
Yeah, I hope you
oh my
like
gosh.
them.
This is so beautiful. I hope you can like really see this on camera, how gorgeous this is. Because wow. Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that is so delicious.
Hooray.
Oh my goodness. And you made it look so easy. I mean, it is with the syrup. I think
Yes.
that's the nice thing.
Yeah, and you also don't have to have, you know, again, you don't have to have the fancy tools. Like you can just have, like a lot of people have the 3-piece cobbler shaker, which is like with a little top that works amazingly perfectly well. So this is just, I just have this from sort of my bartending days. But yeah, you can just keep it. I mean, even if you don't have one of those, you can just do a ball jar, just a little ice, just make sure you shake it super hard. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
how lucky are we to have you on the Wine Down? I mean, you just really like
Up the ante.
Yeah, you really did. And this is actually my first mocktail since being pregnant, and this is good stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's, I mean, this is just speaking from the industry perspective. There's now a lot of good non-alc options for people who, for whatever reason, don't want to drink or don't want to drink alcohol for all of their, you know, adult beverages. So this is one really great choice that we've done a bunch of versions of the espresso martini with Seedlip Grove, and it's been great as well. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
All the flavors just like melt together beautifully. It's not too much espresso. It's not too much of anything. It's wow. I've never tasted anything like that actually.
Yeah.
It's very unique and it's beautiful. You have to try this.
Definitely.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Cheers.
Welcome back, everyone. I mean, how spoiled are we?
Seriously.
I mean, this is like beautiful.
Cheers.
Look at this. Cheers. Y'all, this is actually good. Like, this is really, really nice.
It's so smooth
It's very smooth.
and so light, which I've had other espresso martinis before that just feel like heavier.
I feel like most of them are. It's just that espresso shock, which, you know, is fine because you're kind of, you know, that's what you're expecting in a way, especially with espresso. But this is like, I don't know, it's very easy to drink. So pretty soon we're gonna be like shaking. We're like, the espresso's gonna start kicking in.
Espresso and vodka is going to kick in for me. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. Hillary's gonna have a really good time.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Not the most happy topic that we're going to be diving into, that I am kind of embarrassed to say that I didn't really have that much of an understanding of until I read this.
Yeah.
Not to the degree that it is.
I think it's a topic that not many people know that much about, to be honest.
Are you curious?
Yeah.
We're never going to no, I'm just kidding. We'll tell you right now. Okay, this is from Bloomberg News. The global glut of clothing is an environmental crisis. And like, imagine the crisis now and just like this world that we're in of just like consumerism and how easy it is to just get clothing and stuff. But I didn't realize that, you know, what our clothes are made of are highly polluting the environment.
Yes, I think that the oil industry has done a very good job in diversifying their products. So a lot of people think of petroleum and, the gas that goes into your car or oil spills as being the worst polluters.
The obvious
things. But then there's plastic, which is also made from petroleum.
Right. Which
And
is in polyester.
And then
other
polyester
synthetic
clothing
fibers.
is also made from petroleum, and it is a wonder of a fabric, and it is amazing, but it's also not necessarily the best for the environment.
I thought it was interesting that a lot of attention has been put towards the quick and easy ways to like the cheaper clothes that you can get, right? Like
Fast fashion.
Yeah, fast fashion is the official terminology for this. Quick clothes.
Yeah, quick clothes. Not on and off quick clothes. Like you buy them.
You buy them quickly.
And then you throw them away quickly.
Yes, exactly.
Or get rid of them.
But there's a lot of blame being placed on that world of clothing, but actually the higher end clothing is made of the same materials and doing the same damage to the environment. So I thought that was really interesting because the first thing I thought was, sorry, H&M. It was H&M,
right?
Or Amazon now. I mean, you can find some like cute things on Amazon. I'm not.
Oh, for sure. You definitely can. Target. Shein. Have you heard of Shein?
You probably shouldn't even tell me. Don't tell me.
We should do a whole nother episode on their impact on the environment and impact on fast fashion, because it's very interesting the meteoric rise of that retailer. But I digress. We'll go back to, it is interesting that, high fashion houses also use some of these materials especially, but they aren't at the forefront of what consumers think of.
No.
I think it's also
I think it's woven with gold and silvers.
Yes. I think it's also the fact that there are more consumers buying into the fast fashion because it's more affordable. So the volume of clothing that the H&Ms, the Zaras, and
they're getting better at replicating the trends that, are started through the big brands, right?
Exactly.
The big, expensive, fancy brands.
Exactly. But I think it's also really interesting, and one of the reasons why I was somewhat aware of this before reading this article is, especially on Earth Day this year, I kept seeing newsreels of basically a dumping ground in South America of clothes.
Wow.
Some of which still had tags on them because they were just gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
And it's horrible.
And a lot of them made out of polyester. So it's not like they're cotton and they will eventually-ish, go away. But most of them are synthetic materials. And who knows how long it's going to take for that to...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it says today fashion accounts for 10% of global carbon.
Wow.
I mean, and the most interesting thing about this, of global carbon dioxide output, which is more than international flights and shipping combined, which are two things that we associate with, carbon dioxide output. So,
well, and a lot of clothing is made in other countries, so you're also then using shipping. It's even probably more than that.
Exactly. Another fun fact is 87% of total fiber input used for clothing gets incinerated or sent to landfill.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's terrible because people go through clothing so quickly that they are just getting rid of it.
Right. And more clothing, like production, is happening than is actually being
used.
Yeah.
Being sold.
That's it. I mean, it has to be. I mean, you go into like Forever 21, H&M, there's so much clothing. I mean, how could it ever get sold? I mean, there's so much inventory. It's like, what? Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we will be right back to talk about how our clothes are polluting the planet. Woo! Woo! And we are back to talk about how our clothes are polluting the planet.
Happy Friday to you, too.
I really need some alcohol in this non-alcoholic beverage. Seriously. But the espresso's kind of nice.
It's definitely a nice little pick-me-up for sure.
Oh yeah, it's needed. Hey. All right, I thought this was kind of scary, and I was sort of relating it to ourselves, or wondering if it does relate to us. Synthetic textiles like polyester shed pieces of plastic with every wear and wash that pollutes oceans, fresh water, I mean, basically you name it, the land, and pose danger to animals that consume them, inhibiting growth and reproduction. But all I can think is if these like micro pollutants,
Microplastics
are everywhere, I mean, aren't we all consuming them on some level?
Yeah, so I think that I've also seen recently that there's lots of fish that have microplastics in their stomachs, in their bodies, which then people consume, like consumable fish that people are like actually eating.
Right.
I feel like there's been a lot of scare tactics or other stories about possibly humans having plastic in their digestive ways as well. Sadly, I don't think it's a surprise.
No, it's everywhere, isn't it?
There are products that market to catching the microplastics in your washing machine so that it kind of like how you would probably catch like a fur ball or whatever. So it kind of grabs it all together. And then
that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, there's a couple different ones out on the market that I've seen.
That is so cool. I didn't even know my clothes were shedding such things, but now that I do, I want one of these balls. You just throw it in there and
yeah, it kind of how dryer balls, you throw those in instead of using dryer sheets.
Yes,
which is supposedly much better for the environment as well. You can throw these other types of balls in and they catch the microplastics.
What are they made of? Polyester?
They're also made of plastic. But I guess it's like the lesser of two evils.
Okay.
Situation.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
At least the versions that I've seen are all made of plastic because they have to have...
it's one plastic ball eliminating all the other plastic.
But it's reusable.
And it's reusable.
So you throw it
recyclable.
in, yeah. And you pull the microplastics out of it or off of it. And
that is fascinating.
Yeah.
What?
I know.
The things people come up with.
Yeah,
the things people have to come up with, unfortunately.
Right. It's one of the reasons why they also say not to wash your clothes as often as we, especially here in the US, typically do, is because every time you are washing it, most likely there are microplastics going into the water.
That's interesting because when I lived in the city and I used to have to go to a laundromat, I would put it off as long as possible, probably too long. But now, that we have a washer and dryer, I think we get a little too excited about it.
Well, it's novel to have one in your house.
Yeah, I mean, when you
have a kid, so it's there's a lot more laundry to be done.
There is a lot more laundry to be done, but
sure.
probably not to the extent that we've been doing it. So I'm going to take note of that for sure and try to apply that to my day-to-day life.
It's also better for the longevity of your clothes.
That's true. And I have noticed that as well. Okay, another interesting fact. I thought this was interesting. Okay, many of the fibers are blended like polyester, nylon, acrylic, or elastin, which makes it harder to recycle and becomes labor intensive and requires a skilled workforce. So people actually have to divide and conquer.
Pull them apart, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what the recycling situation
process
is. Yeah.
It sounds like it's a lot more complicated than many of us are aware of.
And I think the article also talks about how more of our textiles are being made out of polyester and acrylic than cotton or wool or other natural fibers, which is what it was for most of humanity until the last basically 20 years has been. Now it's more synthetics.
Right.
And you think about it, our athleisure trend that's still going strong now, workout clothes, it's all synthetic.
That's right. Yeah, Lululemon, what you doing?
Yeah. But I think there are companies that are trying to, whether it's for PR reasons or whether it's because it's a value.
Probably a little bit of both.
Are trying to offset.
Isn't Zara, didn't they commit to 50% of their clothing be recyclable?
Yeah, I think so, by 2025 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I do know that H&M has an eco-conscious version of their line, so you can shop that. It's mostly cotton products.
So a lot of it is in the hands of the consumer, like showing like this is what we want and this is what we are going to buy, basically.
Yeah. And I think also it goes back to this fast fashion. Like, do you need that top that you might only wear 1 or 2 times because it's very like in season right now, but it's going to be out of season.
And it costs you nothing,
And it
right?
costs you
So you're
nothing.
like, hey, like, even if I don't like it, whatever, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's like a whole mentality that has to shift, really. But on a happier note, there are companies out there developing technologies that make use of textile waste. So I think, it's just about raising awareness, as with everything.
Right. And I think there's a lot of companies, or there's companies that are certainly making it part of their mission. Like Patagonia is one of those companies that comes to mind for me. They weren't necessarily mentioned in the article, but they do they will help patch some of your stuff for free because they want the longevity of their products. They also use a lot of recycled material in their products, and that is because they're such an environmentally conscious brand. They're still making consumer goods, but they are trying to do it in a way that is a little bit more sustainable and better for the environment.
Did not know that.
But you're also paying more money for quality product, and I think that's
It's the same with everything, isn't it? It's
also-
like produce and
Right.
But I think people are trying. Even with like skin products. I know you know all about it. It's huge now. Everyone wants like all natural and green and
right.
and
things that are in sustainable glass and exactly.
And so I think it's people are going to start becoming more aware of their clothing now. I admit I was not. Well, I hope everyone learned something today on the wind down, and we can all just do our best to do a little better.
Hopefully,
I should put that on a t-shirt.
And hopefully you had an espresso martini or some wine with us and got to enjoy a little bit of that on a Friday night.
Yes, and please, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week on another episode of The Wind Down. Cheers.
Cheers.